That's what I was wondering, because it would have been midnight in your
Yeah.
time. You're in which city now?
Yeah, it's the night.
You're in Jaipur or Bombay?
I'm in Ajmer.
Ajmer, okay.
Yeah.
You had an office in Ahmedabad also, or
No, in Ajmer only.
Ajmer only, okay.
No, this number.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Vitlani, you are based in Surat?
Yes, sir. I am basically in Surat. Sir.
Okay.
And
Surat, how is it now? Is it hot or not so hot?
sir, not so hot as compared to other cities of Gujarat. We have 36 degree temperature over here. 36
Okay.
degrees.
So not very hot.
No, not very hot.
Pune is 33.
Oh, that's fine. That's nice. So
Normally it should be around 30. So I think 3-4 degrees it's higher this
yes,
year.
sir. Same Surat should be 34, 32, but it's now 36, 37 something. I think one of the least hot city in the Gujarat.
Okay.
Ahmedabad is very highest, 46.
Oh, tomorrow I'm going to Ahmedabad for a meeting. Hope it's not very hot tomorrow.
Yes, yes. Good morning, Praveen sir. Nice to see you, sir.
Yeah, Dushwanji.
Yes, sir.
So, who will be in other people in your team?
Sir, Manthan Chawat, managing committee member.
Anant.
Vice chairman Arun. What?
Manthan.
Manthan will be doing the MOC.
Okay.
Then we have our vice chairman, sir Arun Narang.
Yeah, that I'm communicating with him.
Myself is here, and other committee member will be Shailesh Lakhankia will be also joining in a while.
Oh, okay. Nice to meet all of you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, sir, everyone is interested for this topic. Very hot and very interesting topic will be, I think, that accounting and outsourcing practices.
Right, that's true. And particularly Gujarat is very business-oriented people. So they can involve in this and then can grow like anything, because the US, Gujarat is the extension to the US.
Yes, yes.
I think from Gujarat, people generally want to go on-site. They don't want to do offshore.
Yes, yes.
So Surat branch has how many members participating total?
Participating or total members?
The total members, how many are there in Surat? CS?
Sir, we have 5,800 plus chartered accountants in Surat. Approx 6,000 we can say.
Really?
And sir, we are the third largest branch of Western India. After Ahmedabad, Pune and Surat. Third is Surat.
Okay, very good.
So we are in the mega branch category.
Mega branch.
Yes.
Very good. So Dushyant, you are a practicing CA or you are working in some?
So practicing. I'm practicing in direct tax as well as indirect tax. That are
very good.
even litigation I do appear before various appellate forums.
Okay.
CIT, ITAT.
Very good. So you have clients in Mumbai, Pune or something, or mostly in Gujarat?
Mostly sir, Gujarat.
Mostly in Gujarat. Very good.
Our vice chairman is joining, sir.
Surat, have you started physical seminars or still everything is virtual?
No, sir. We have started physical seminar also.
Okay.
Yeah, they requested, but I told that travel may be very difficult.
Yeah, no, I was just asking. I'm not saying this should have been physical.
No, yeah, they were trying. You
Okay.
might have, Anant, you might have gone there because you are going tomorrow Ahmedabad, so you can be today.
Yeah, I could have
Surat.
gone to Surat today.
Yeah.
They didn't call me.
No, they told me. Then
Wait.
I told that it's very
Okay.
difficult for Ajmer to travel.
Yeah,
It will be our place. Good morning, sir.
Morning,
Vice
sir.
chairman, sir.
Good morning, sir. Anand sir, Praveen sir, very good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning, Arunji.
So very welcome to Surat branch platform, sir, or virtual platform.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, welcome.
So in Pune, there is this regional conference in the first week of June. So
Yeah, third and
anybody
fourth.
of you are coming here?
3rd and 4th at Pune, sir.
So is anybody of you coming here?
Sir, maybe we are planning, but sir, it won't be possible for us to because
I
we
see.
all programs line up.
Yeah.
So can we check that? Can we share the screen or something?
Santosh bhai, please allow sir to please, share his screen now. Please make him call.
Yeah, one by one. Yeah. Let me check and then Anant can check, you know.
So Praveen sir, you can share your screen now.
Where to share? Join maybe. I could not see the Zoom view 31 people in white.
Share screen, there's some option.
Where?
At the bottom, there's a green box and there's an arrow in that share screen.
No,
You can
let
say
me connect again maybe.
Okay. I'll just try if I can share.
Now, okay, so okay, now I got it. Yeah.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah, this US market something.
Yes, US accounting service.
Okay, perfect.
I'll try sharing my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, it is visible. We can
Okay,
see.
great. Yeah, great. Thank you. I'll stop sharing. Praveer, are you planning any visit this side of the country? Bombay, Pune or something? You're on mute, sir.
Yeah, sorry. No, today, right now, my father was having some issue, medical issue. So
Oh,
that's
I
why
see.
I came. So I just want to spend time with him only.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense.
So hopefully, we'll see.
Flying out from Delhi.
Yeah, came from Delhi and going from Delhi.
Yeah, good.
Morning, Praveen Jain, sir.
Yeah,
Same
good
Manthan
morning.
on this side.
Yeah, Sanjay ji.
Good morning, Manthan ji. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
We have around 55 participants as of now, sir. We'll just wait for only 5-10 minutes. We have registrations of around 180 to 200. So we'll just wait for 5-10 minutes and then we'll just proceed, sir, if you allow.
I think if we start early, that will be helpful.
Okay. Sure, sir.
So at the moment, everybody is in the meeting, or how is it planned? Is it like a seminar or a meeting, webinar or a meeting?
It would be more of a webinar kind of a thing, sir.
Okay.
We'll take Q&A at the end of this thing. We'll just collect what are the Q&As, like what are the questions of all the participants. And once first we will have sessions of Praveen Jain, sir, and then yours as well. So we'll just collate the whole this thing, and in the end we'll just have a tiny session of 15 to 20 minutes where we'll just discuss. So along with that, we'll just go. Sir.
Yeah, I think we would like to have a more QA time.
Okay.
So 35,
like interactive
35
session kind of a thing, sir.
Yeah, 35 minutes I think I'll take, and then Anant, what do you think? How much your time?
Yeah, my time is also around 35-40 minutes.
Yeah, then we will get.
So no issue, sir. Anyways, Anand's topic is also very much of on the practical aspects of outsourcing practice. So in case he'll also get to know what are in the minds of the participants, then he'll be much in a position to communicate with us. No issue. We'll have it like that.
No, but sir, I feel that if we do presentations first and Q&A together, that will be more structured, and because many of the questions might get answered in my presentation. So
sure, sir.
At the end, it's QA.
Yeah, at the end it will help. So if Praveen ji present, then I present, and then take a QA common.
Sure, sir.
It will be more structured.
So I think, sir, we can start if you allow.
Yeah, I think there's one more minute. I think it's 10:59. So
10:59.
Sure, sir, we'll wait. We have already around 67 participants.
Yeah, so just 11 o'clock you can start.
Here we acknowledge our presence of CA Rupin Pachigar, past chairman of Surat branch. Very welcome, sir.
hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, you can start, Manthan ji, if possible.
Okay, sir. Sure. So good morning, everyone. Heartily welcome for today's session on tax and account outsourcing services to USA. Today's topic is very interesting as with increasing competitions in the traditional areas of practice, with upgradation of the technology, artificial intelligence, machine learning, whatnot. It has become a necessity for all the young and senior chartered accountants to now move and upgrade globally, expand it in order to increase their areas of practice, to gather more and more exposure. So to enlighten on the subject, we have invited our member, an eminent speaker, CPA Praveen Jain sir, chairperson of Washington DC of ICAI, and Sri Anand Govande sir. Sir, on behalf of Surat branch and all the participants present over here, I'll heartily welcome to CPA Praveen Jain sir. Thank you for your presence, sir, today.
Thank you.
Yes, and also to Anand Govande sir for accepting our invitation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
With this, I also acknowledge the presence of our Vice Chairperson, Sri Arun Narang sir, our Secretary, Sri Dushyant Vitlani sir, and our Treasurer, Sri Ashwin Bhawala. With this, friends, this was the most demanded topic for the Surat branch, as just after opening of the registrations, we have received a very huge and warm response from the members. We have get registrations of around 180 members. So I'm very much positive about the impact and the benefit that this session would have on our members. And to the members at the large, as we are also going live on the YouTube. So all the members who are joining through the YouTube, welcome to you all as well. With these words, I would like to request our Surat branch secretary, Sri Dushyant Vitlani sir, to introduce the first speaker of the day, CPA Praveen Jain sir, chairperson of Washington DC of ICAI. Over to you, Dushyant bhai.
Sir, before I think Vice Chairman sir will like to have a welcome address. Vice Chairman sir.
Sir, you are on mute, Arun sir.
It's already been addressed by Manthan. Welcome address is given by him. So I request you, sir, to please introduce our speakers of the day. Yeah. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vice Chairman sir. Thank you, Manthan. Our past chairman of Surat branch, Rupin sir, Treasurer Ashwin, and my committee members. Thank you. Very good morning to all the my fellow participants. It's indeed a great pleasure and privilege for me to introduce CPA Praveen Jain sir. Praveen Jain sir is a chairperson of Washington DC chapter of ICAI. He is a special invitee committee for export of CA service and WTO of ICAI, founder of the Seva Group USA. He is a certified public accountant licensed in the state of Maryland, USA. He is also a qualified chartered accountant from India and IRS certifying acceptance agent in India and the US. As the president and co-founder of the Seva Group, he is engaged in providing services that extend from tax planning preparation for individuals to full service accounting, bookkeeping, and tax preparation for businesses. His advisory services reach a niche area of acquisition of CPA and other business units or firms. By establishing an export service unit, Seva Enterprise LLP in Ajmer, India, he presents opportunities to CA members. The team currently engages 28 professionals, of which 10 are members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He holds the credit of successfully moving CA members under an H-1B visa from Ajmer to the US, making it first ever case of moving directly from Ajmer to the USA under such a visa. Sir commenced his career as a practicing chartered accountant in Bombay. He served there from 1986 to 2000, after which he moved to the United States. He engaged as a senior financial analyst with Johns Hopkins Hospital. His immense and well-rounded experience of 40 plus years in international tax, accounting, and information systems allow him a unique insight into his client business and expansion development endeavors overseas. His expertise includes international tax, expat, immigrant tax, and foreign asset reporting for clients with intersecting compliances requirements in the US and India. He is a member of part of the executive committees of social and religious organizations both in India and US. With these words, sir, I introduce our today's learned speaker, CPA, CA Praveen Jain, sir, to start the session and give his knowledge about the topic, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dishwantji. Thank you, all executive member of Surat, and my fellow speaker Anandji. We have already given this webinar in WIRC in Mumbai about a year ago, and it's a good opportunity to us to share our experience from US perspective, me, and then how to set up in India from India perspective. So it's going to be very interesting. Let me share my screen. Yeah, so today, mainly in tax and accounting outsourcing service of the USA, I'll cover the US perspective of accounting outsourcing. So here, mainly I'll cover accounting services industry in the USA, how big it is. And before that, I also give some data of US and India trade business and other importance of continuing having a two world largest democratic country, and now another interesting thing is becoming a favorable partners, India and US. And I'll also cover the interesting fact of outsourcing, what is the US advantage, why they are coming here, and then what is the India future offshore accounting industry is, how the talent pool is available in India, and identify and retaining them, and why becoming the first choice you can be in that, and present in the USA is necessary, and the biggest challenge is the trust between the two associations. So let us start about the US-India economic, and I'll go in briefly, and I'll share with this presentation so you can have that actual data. So India and US bilateral trade is number one trading partner. We have 43 billion US trade business of trade and service. We are the part of that. So majority in the previous many years is IT services, but now the accounting and other catching up. And thank you to the Institute of the Chartered Accountant of India. They have started 2 years ago the US presence, so US chapters, representation, and other offices they have opened. So we also have all CA, about 5,000 plus CA associations meeting each other, and now we know that who is where. So that's a very interesting help by the ICAI, and we have the largest goods and services. So because the US is trying to like having a lot of exposure with the China, so they are trying to moving from China to India. So that is the biggest advantage we are getting now. Another business demographic I want to give you beforehand, that US is more on individual and how the business structure is. So you can see that 25 million enterprises they don't have employees. So basically they are running their own business, and 20 people less, they have about 6 million enterprises in 2019, and then large is like 500 plus thousand employees, 22,000 things. So 98.6% is basically non-employer business, or I think 76% is a large chunk of this enterprise. So that's why the lot of accountant is needed. So here is the So here is the revenue of the accounting services in United States. So $133 billion is the revenue. And out of that, we have about 151 million accountant there who is doing the auditing and other services. And in the California, we have 50 states, and the California is the highest employment level in accounting and auditing. And annual mean wage for accountant industry, like accountant, qualified accountant, is 105,790. So another outsourcing, a few interesting facts which you will get the idea, like how what's going on in the global business processing outsourcing. So the CAGR is 8% now they have estimated. So you can imagine that it will reach to 405.6 billion by 2027. KPMG also did some research, and then they have given a report, and then 85% of global business processing is having the business in the US account. And business processing about estimated 113 billion in 2021. Interesting is, like last year in 2021, there was 80% of the small businesses having some kind of outsourcing their work. Now it estimated to increase by 2022 in 90%. So it means almost in the future, everyone is looking some kind of work to outsource somewhere locally or internationally. So this is another interesting data. Then we have a professional and scientific technical services industry, which is the 6th rank in market size, and 90th largest sector is the accounting services. So we have the opportunity, and good thing is that like accounting industry is considered as a niche requirement. So we have allowed to do the H1B visa, which is only for professional scientific technical services allowed. And there is a big four, they have presence in India. So they have a total revenue of 167 billion worldwide. Out of that, 73 billion is from India, US, and 73 billion else. Also, they all have a presence in India. Their US office having a back office and captive unit in India. So out of 73 billion, many billions comes to India for their back office work. And interestingly, due to the COVID and growth, as I mentioned, that it will go to global accounting services increase to $687 billion. So 43%, these are again market segment wise. One thing you can understand that as far as you are in Surat, so Gujaratis has already, I consider as an extension of the US. We have a lot of businesses, like major businesses from Indians are from Gujaratis. So in US also, it's a synonymous, whether Indian or Gujarati is very much considered like that. But the major thing is, like, we have a 5% population in US. Out of that, how much we have a world's total income percentage is 20%. So you can understand like that how the US has a major earning, and everyone is making more money than any other part of the world. And accounting services industry is expected to increase, as mentioned, is growing every year. In 2022 is 6.3%. So these are the outsourcing services which everyone knows now these days is very common, but I just highlighted here what type of services is already coming, whether I'm doing here in my captive unit in Ajmer, or Anant is doing a lot of US clients out of these services like payroll, bank reconciliation, AR, AP, calculation, aging reports. And other than these normal accounting or bookkeeping work, now these days we have also India is supporting in real information and analysis and advisory level also. And how big volume is this? Like you can understand from this IRS report of 2020, how many returns in United States we are processing in a year. And major portion is in from basically from 15th of January to 15th of April. So you can see the volume, like 253 million returns we are filing in a year in 1919. But due to the COVID, it came down to 240, but it will increase again to 270 or some millions tax returns. So that is the requirement, the time-bound job. It's a seasonal things, like up to April 15th, and then in October if we file the extension, and everything is coming to more, like every day is increasing to coming processes helping from India, unit from the Ahmedabad is a like big. Now these days people are telling that if you throw a stone, it may be a hit to the person who is doing the accounting or tax return preparation in the US. So that is the situation is growing, and everyone has to take the advantage. And it's a beginning. Still, I feel that it's a beginning of the business and thing. So we have a C corp, S corp, and partnership return and individual, and you can see the volume. And these volume create sometimes in India. Modi ji is commenting like, "Oh, in India we have very less tax filer." So these are the reason he is very much trying to increase this volume, and hopefully a lot of due to the technology help that is going to be happen positively and sure. So the outsourcing, the US advantage, the again, why people are coming here. So these are the major issues. So cost efficiency is the biggest challenge. The dollar is also appreciating, the rupee is devaluing. So the price difference between the dollar rupee is also increasing from recent couple of years ago to 42.78 now. So this is one reason where, and second is the pool, the population we have. So talent is available. So that is the reason where we are coming, like US people are coming and coming here and again to take their work done by Indians. So cost efficiency is the one. Then second is the scalability, which we can do from there. And third advantage is the time zone advantage. That is the biggest advantage for India, because if we give the work in the evening, when we get up in the morning, we get the work done by Indians here, our own people. So that is the advantage, and that's why this increasing thing. And as you know that CPA has started taking the exam in India. So I have not seen any CA who is not able to complete the CPA. And every day, if you go in the LinkedIn, you will see that one or two people has already done their all 4 part of the CPA examination. So the US accounting industry also understand that the best talent is available in India, and that is, so that is the, because in US is the short of the people, so they have no choice, but they have to use the best talent is available in India. And higher value activity is also increasing, and the better with this decision faster. So if we have a full analysis, then we can do better decision. And then again, the economy is last 5-6 years booming, and now it's like going down. So that always when we, and due to the COVID, there are so many businesses has like a roller coaster situation. So there always it's better to have some data up to date to take the decision in better, faster manner. So these are the driving force for outsourcing. US people, US entrepreneurs, business houses are looking to enable to the core business, cost cutting, as I mentioned earlier, solve capable of issues. So these are the percentage is done by the Deloitte in 2016, and it's again increasing here. This is another overall picture of the preferred location of the shared services done. So you can see that everywhere India is the first preferred location, even though from the United States. So from Australia, UK, and European countries, everyone is coming, and the US also is coming to India. So only the life sciences and healthcare, we are the second, due to the reason because we have in US many universities and the funding for research and development, they are doing that. That's why they are the first. Otherwise, now we are also increasing that research centers here. So hopefully this will also be in future, we will be number one. So again, this is a just to show that what is the percentage of cost flexibility, speed to market. So that is the everyone is interested in that. What about the India? So India in this game of the and what is the future of the outsourcing? So as I mentioned, the cost effective is always will be there. We can train more people. We can arrange and give them the employment, and we can have like in the cost available in a reasonable price. Second thing is English is the English large pool of the English. India is the second number of English speaking in the world after the United States. So we both has the English speaking people available. So we will certainly take that advantage. India is the future is bright. And another thing is the latest technology. India is much advanced in sometimes in many places in the technology. You can see in the Indian tax income tax department also, like how they are so advanced, the TDS, TCS, everything they are managing, and the whole world is learning from India how the technology they are implementing and taking that advantage of technology. Here is the why the India is getting the benefit. Like we are the number one preference of the last 15 years. As I mentioned, the largest English speaking, 50% of the Fortune 500 companies having the offices and big buildings, and like 30% or 40% of their manpower across the world is in India. And so a lot of talent pool is available. Now I'll go like again the state of the art of the infrastructure is also very good here. Internet you can see everywhere is available, and now the small city also can help. Like I'm running last 6-7 years from Ajmer, and it's no problem. Everything is there. Every better communication, as I mentioned earlier, but there is a I used to pay $2 or $3 a minute when I need to call India in 2000, and time flies, and then suddenly you can see that instantly I can talk with the not only from the one option, but I have a like 4 or 5 options to talk or chat with anyone in the world, not only in the India. So the technology is driving the force and helping us to become very small. Core strength delivery, HR, and other information, we are doing that. And talent pool, as I mentioned, CA in India, CA, CS, CMA, MBAs are available. And in US, if you want to find that, then CPA enroll agent certification is given by the IRS, and MBA, the B school is there. So in here, as I mentioned, that CPA is also available in India. So there are many CPAs are also becoming here and passing that examination, the 4th paper. How to get the work and how to find the opportunity. So here are the options. Any small person can do that. Earlier we used to say that, like when I was in Bombay in India, like only Big Four can do the outside work or become multinational. But in 20 years or 22 years, everything is changed. Now it's small people from a small city, they are running a multinational company. They have a website in 2-3 countries, and the law is applied the same. And how to get the work? There are so many online platforms available, like Upwork. You can list there. People, Fiverr, workshop. So these are available, and then you can get that work. And many of the Gujarat state accounting and the entrepreneur people are doing this. So other way is how to get the work is from the CPA's connection relation. And then I am so proud from the Gujarat that every Gujarati family and in the building or office, like you have someone in US. So that's why it's a very very already everyone knows this, and very easy to get the contact and things. Another, like I have seen the trend last couple 1 or 2 years, that Ahmedabad companies and many other Gujarat state or Maharashtra companies are buying accounting firm in US. So that's another, or at least buying the part of the stakes. So the ownership. So not only you are doing back office work, but you are running the US accounting firm. You are making money on that basis. So that is also possible. As far as US businesses are concerned, they are sellable. There is accounting firms are also uh, available. So if even you want to buy any particular accounting enterprise, you can find a city or a small town in US, and there is available a CPA firm. There is a 5-6 brokers nationwide in US. It's available. So you can just contact them and try to make a deal with them and your some relatives. Then it's very easy possible and running. And luckily, as I'm doing the practice in US, so many of my client also who is acquiring not accounting firm but many other businesses, which amazing, like how Indians and businessmen is buying every field in India from US, like a very small amount, 30 lakh rupees to in crores, or like a big corporate houses buying in millions and billions dollar deal. So this is very interesting scenario is going on, and then presenting seminars also is giving the benefit to people. Like we have now 6-7 chapters in ICI there, and RO offices are there. They are also organizing the webinar, like how the Surat branch has organized. So in that, I have seen that so many Indian chartered accountants are presenting there, and then they are also have a connection and giving their showcase their ability and their strength to that part of the world. Another, how to retain the work. If you got the work, then how to retain the work. So the key consideration here is you have to be follow the strictly service level agreement. And so what happened is, even in my experience is also there in India, I have not seen that any accounting firm or a chartered accountant has mentioned that, oh, we are not taking any new client. If you go in US, like 40% of the accounting firms are putting in their website that we are not accepting any new client, because they want to serve what they have. Here, what happened is I assigned a work to any accountant here, and he is just making, I'm giving say $1,000 work. And he, after giving that work in 1 or 2 days, he got another $2,000 work. He will just give my work to the small people, his junior, and then will do for those $2,000 work. So that tendency is very giving the trust level and the quality of the work. In US, if I committed that like I'll do your work in $1,000, I'll not see or the like greed that if I'll get a $2,000, I'll not accept that. So that concept, that philosophy is missing in India. So if you are doing this work, if you accept that, please stick to the SLA, and like whatever agreement you do, I want to give in 3 days, then you have to commit the 3 days. Then it will be continue the work, and you give the high end quality work. You have to show the practice professionalism, like the email, how to write it. Many and now young people I know in India is far better than when I used to learn all these things. They are very smart. So those people are in the email document management and service delivery. It's amazing for the new people. So they are good, but as all other, everyone should be take care of this through the documentation and other things. Now another interesting thing is to retaining the client. You have to show the what is the US the culture is. So you need to learn the US culture, where you need to make sure that the way you speak is different. As far as the fast space, like I started speaking like in 1 minute, I'm also speaking more than 30 words or 25 words. So it's a standard where we should be having a very slowly, very make sure that the other person is able to understand what I'm trying to communicate. So that concept, you know, is required. Greeting also, like if you are doing a call with the US people, what is their time zone? Because US has a 5 time zone, so you have to make sure that which time zone is the good morning, will be good evening, or good afternoon. So those kind of greetings you have to be careful, and try to be very simple, straightforward English language should be used. Try to listen, because we try to interrupt and try to understand more. So those kind of things we have to be taken care to retaining the work. So another is interesting thing is that which we have to be taken care, otherwise it's a disaster if you are not doing this: the privacy and the confidentiality. This is the biggest threat, which I'll discuss in the challenges, what you will get. So we have to be make sure that privacy and data retention is best is this. You have to take care. Now, why you can be the first choice? So to understand, to convince the US part, US, like why they should hire you, or why should they give the work to you. So best thing is you have to understand the foreign counterparts, what is their requirement is, and then collaborating with their requirement. And as we told that reducing cost, driving business values, if you show that, and analytic reporting you develop yourself, and everything is available in the YouTube, so it's not a big deal. But selection in the YouTube, because there are so many presentation and report is available, so you have to understand that. Now the business also is changing very fast. Earlier we have heard that cloud is best, or the RPA is coming. So these are really is the is coming. So robotic processing is is very much is the future, where you can have the automatically most of the data entry is done by the robots. They are replying with your email. They are replying in your in the website. They are also answering the, if you have a question you might have seen in the website. So those are also available now and increasing. So this is the new future most desirable thing. So you can also think of that. And then, like as I mentioned, the cloud was the 2019 was the top position. Now it's gone to the 4th position. So as I told you, the challenging of the outsourcing industry is the data security. Anant also would address this, how he has taken care of this part uh, in your perspective. And the performance resilience, I told you that that is the major concern of the US part people. And legal and regulatory compliances also is very important, because IRS says that if you offshore getting the work done, that has to be done at the premises same address. So those things has to be taken care. Loss of intellectual property is sometimes you will learn that intellectual property of the US counterpart, but you cannot use those property without the permission from them. That is also is major concern by the people in US. And that this is also challenge for here the excessive termination penalties. So again, the question comes, can you able to do the business from India also? So like how the Anant is doing, I think he has only the presence in India and then getting the work all over the world, including the USA. Same way, it is required or it is not required. So it's not mandatory or it is not required. So, but if you have the presence there, that's always the advantage. You can make the money as per the US standard, and your investment will get as per the US. So that is the main crux of the business. So freelance platform you can do from here. There is no need to have your presence. US CPA firms are giving the work to Indian accountant who is listing their Upwork, freelance, or Fiverr. So they are providing the work, and it's continuing increasing day by day. As the LinkedIn and the CS chapters and associations is also getting the work, so there is no need to have a presence in the US. So many people are getting the work outsourcing and without the leaving the India. So, but again, if you have a presence there, then building the trust, because you will have to learn US US trust the society working style. You have to commit. You have to worry about you can be sued in US. So those things is there. That's why people will love to work with the US company only. And so you can also learn the local opportunity you will get if you have the US presence. The biggest thing is the trust. As I told you, the US is a trust-based society. The IRS is having all the IRC code or things is based on that they trust with their people. If they assume that everyone is filing their own correct statement, so that's the way the law is prepared. But in India, the income tax department creates the law and provisions that in the mindset is that everyone is trying to manipulate things. So please understand, this is the biggest difference. Is the US is a trust-based society. They trust us, and I'll give you the one biggest like recent example where the US-based investor or founder having an issue with the Indian-based founder in Indigo Airlines. Everyone must have traveled with the Indigo, and Indigo is started with one Rakesh Gangwal, Indian US citizen, and then he started there, and then he in one page, when Indigo is just incorporated, in one page he signed up based on his capability 100 aircraft without any security or anything. So that capability, the Indigo is born, developed, and then in 10 years they become listed company and $5 billion their net worth, both the owner, Indian owner and the US owner. And ultimately he found some Indian practices is done. Then he went to the Prime Minister, SEBI and Stock Exchange. He wrote so many messages. So that it was not the things, only the trust. Like he was not informed if related party transaction was there. So that was the key dispute. And now the situation is that he is the just investor. The whole 9 board of the 10 board members is controlled by the Indian founder. So this is the where the US people looking those kind of situation, the news, and then they go back foot whenever they want to deal with Indian partnership or something. So same thing is recently in the the quarterly call, Ford has mentioned in the last quarter that we are exiting out from the India operation and they are stopping the manufacturing. Everything is a car, even though India is the biggest market. All these due to the trust and the way India works, they are not able to handle the way the US people want to work. So this is the thing. The US is very suppressing the truth and it's considered as a crime. So this is another very much issue where one should understand, and then the confidentiality and the privacy. That is also a very important factor to consider them. So these are the things, and maybe I'll happy to answer in the question answer. And this is the job creation. Many chartered accountants gone in the L1 from here to here. Just I want to give some flavor. Like many Gujaratis, the dream that they want to move to US and they have moved to US. So this another area where you want to go. So L1 is the visa where it's a branch transfer. So you can have your own CES firm in US and then you can transfer there. So if you acquire a company there, then you can go in L1 visa. That is possible. So I have seen many of second generation business owner people are moving from here to in E1 or L1 visa in United States. H1B is the US company or a US is hiring foreign workers. So my US company is hired my Indian company. So that is the thing is from my team member from India, Ajmer to went to the in H1B visa in US. So this is just giving you idea. So you can go and USCIC website. You can get all the information. 65,000 is the limit. But if you have a non-profit organization in US, there is no limit. They can hire in H1B anytime, anyone number of people. Other ways you can move to United States is the EB5. You can get married to US citizen or US person. Then you can move like a lot of chartered accountants, particularly female chartered accountant get married and they went to there and is in US. Business visa you can get and go there. Tourist visa you can go, and you can also register with the PCAOB and then you can be an auditor of the listed company, US listed company. There is no such requirement that you need to have a CA there. So this is, I just want to conclude and then I'm happy to answer in the QA session after Anand's presentation.
Thank you, sir, for your session. It was a very nice and enlightening session for all the members. I'm sure there are so many questions that I have noted down. We'll take it at the end of the whole session after answers as well. Now, I would request. Hello.
Yeah, no.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, no issue. So now I would request CA Sailesh Lakhankia, MCM Surat branch, to introduce our today's second speaker, C. Anand Govande, sir. Sailesh bhai.
Yes, I am here. Am I?
Yes, sir, you are audible. I think there was some technical issue. Can you just please come again?
Okay, now I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sure, sure. Please.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is my great pleasure to introduce our second speaker, Anand Govan K. Sir. Sir is a chartered accountant, a rank holder in intermediate and final exams. Sir is also a cost accountant and company secretary, a co-founder and director offshore accounting and taxation services, a consultant, financial consolidation and reporting, a financial director at Geometric Software for 6 years, elected member of managing committee of Pune branch of Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, 2010 to 12. Faculty member on topics such as Indian accounting standards, IFRS, knowledge worker productivity, taxation, etc. in various seminars, training programs and workshops. Published article in the Economic Times and the Chartered Accountant Journal on topic related to finance and accounting. Sir is also co-author of e-book on data analytics published by the Western India Regional Council of the ICI. With this brief introduction, I would request to Sir kindly share your views on the topic. Sir, please.
Thank you, Shailesh, for your kind introduction. First of all, I express my thanks to Surat branch for organizing this webinar. So I thank all the branch committee members and especially Mr. Vitlani who coordinated with me. I'm also thankful to Praveenji for being the co-speaker. We did a similar webinar last year, and the one part is how many people participated. But the real benefit comes, when somebody kind of gets the trigger or the initiative or the impetus to start off. So Mr. Tejwani shared with me that 3-4 case studies, you can say, or 3-4 examples where they did this QuickBook Pro Advisor, and they started getting work from USA, and some of them have grown their practice. So I think I'm looking forward to maybe inspiring a few of you who can see that somebody like me from Pune sitting here, we can do work for companies outside India. So it's very simple. My presentation is there. I'll share my screen, but I would say that there's nothing extraordinary. What we are doing is quite straightforward. It's something similar to what we do for Indian customers. It is just that we have to be aware of certain key requirements that US companies might have, and take care of that. So I'll be focusing on the practical aspects of setting up outsourcing practice. Most of you are practicing chartered accountants. You have your own offices, your teams. So some of this might sound, like, okay, it is simple and same as what we are doing. So that is the whole point, that there's nothing extraordinary. You have to just focus, think from, customer's point, and, get it up and running. And as I said, examples I will be giving will be from smaller cities, like Pune or some even tier 2 or tier 3 cities where people are doing this. So of course, you'll find large operations in Bangalore or Hyderabad or Chennai or Mumbai, but we don't have to really be in those cities to do this work. So I'll be covering topics such as how can an SMPCA firm do global outsourcing successfully. I'm aware that many of the participants will be SMPCA firms. So I'm addressing them and not really the people who are already into this industry. I'll talk briefly about how to set up the outsourcing services practice. So what are the engagement models? Then some of the key requirements such as team building, then infrastructure and software, data retention and data security. Then what are the range of services? Praveenji has given a summary, in his slide, he mentioned about 12-13 services. I'll slightly elaborate 5 or 6 of them in what we are actually doing and where we see more response from customers. Then what is the transition process? So when you do the work for a US company, how do that transitioning of the work happens to India? Finally, communication is the key. So how that has to be focused on. I'll just briefly talk about business development. So this seminar is not really about how to get the work, but of course that's an important aspect. So I'll share some experiences, what we have been doing and what I have observed other successful companies do. So that can give some pointers. And last slide will be reference and acknowledgements. So how can a small SMP do global outsourcing successfully? I have tried to create a kind of a virtuous circle. So you start and then you kind of do various steps, and then that helps you grow the business further. So it's not a straight line, but it's like a spiral or a circle. So we'll start with the team building, because that is the key part. As a sole practitioner or consultant, you can obviously do business. Praveen mentioned about sites such as Upwork or freelance and so on. So you can say that, okay, I'll do this particular work, get that job and get it delivered. You might do it yourself or have one or two assistants doing that. But that model is more like a solo practitioner or a self-employed consultant. While that is very important, and you will get much better rates than what you will get for India, we are not really focusing on that, as an individual worker. What we are really going to focus is on building a team and then growing that and delivering that to the customer. So we'll focus on slightly larger teams. Then what is the infrastructure required? Luckily now internet is everywhere, so internet is the key. And what are the other requirements? So we'll address that. Then what is the quality delivery? So that is the most important part, that you might get some work by bidding on some project or something, but if you have to create a lasting customer relationship, then quality is very important. Idea is that you start work for a customer and then you continue. So we are not really speaking of individual projects where they are talking of, okay, now this is a 30-hour work, do this, and then you go to some next customer. We are talking of continuation, so that your business development efforts get multiplied. You don't have to spend time getting new customer for each project. And the best aspect of getting new customers is the quality of delivery for the existing customers. So you can get cross references. Communication is very important. Some of the differences when you communicate to offshore customers or overseas customers, and how that is very important. That is, we'll be briefly touch upon that. After doing all these 3-4 things and taking care of customers, you end up with happy customers, and hopefully through that you get more customers. You get case studies, you can put some testimonials, they will give you cross references and they will multiply. So that is the most crucial part of business development. And there are certain other activities which you can do, like inside sales or representative offices. So I'll cover that in one slide. So what are the engagement models? How do you engage with these customers who are in the USA? How do you work for them? There are 2 or 3 models. Again, these models are not watertight compartments. There can be some overlap, or they can evolve from one into another. But it is good to identify what you are trying to pitch. So that, hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. You can move ahead. I muted.
There was one part. I thought there was some issue.
No.
Okay. So there are broadly 3 engagement models. As I said, they can evolve and it can be a mix and match. But if you understand what is the model you are pitching, then you will build your capacity in those specific requirements, so that that can start off on a right foot. So one is like a outsourced service provider. So I will cover with a case study. Second is like a captive service provider, where you have an in-house customer and you take care of that. And third is a build, operate, transfer or BOT model. So these are the three broad models. First is outsourced service provider. So which most of us would want to become. So we are service providers from India. We would have customers in the USA. So they could be the direct customers who are companies or corporations, who have outsourced their work to us, or they could be CPAs or outsourcing organizations in USA who are like aggregators, and they might subcontract that work to us. So the Indian entity is a service provider, and this is one of the largest segments of the market where people are providing these services. It is very easy to build on this particular model because you are in control of your deliverables. You can build your own team, and you can then expand it further. Now here I would give a case study where from Pune, there's this company providing accounts payable and employee expense reimbursement services to US customers. So this is very much possible. I have seen this particular process in depth. So the way it started was, they wanted to outsource certain accounts payable function. So simple, again, very simple things: recording of invoices, matching with the purchase order, two-way or three-way matching, taking care of non-PO purchases. So again, most of the things which we do here. There are some terminologies which are different. In India, there are certain tax-related complications, like we have GST and reverse charge, and we have tax deduction at source. In US, taxes, at least in the business area, are quite straightforward and simple. There are certain sales taxes, but there are not too many withholding requirements. To be frank, I have not really seen too many places where while paying to supplier you have to withhold within US. So it's a very straightforward process. So the way it happened was, when this initial requirement came up, a core team went there. The team lead and one of the senior persons. They studied what the actual process was, what was the workflow system, and what is a ERP system. They made those SOPs. And after this initial visit, of course, this was pre-COVID. During COVID, most of the transitions happened over video calls, and that was another experience. But in this particular case, they went there. They were there for about 5-6 days. They got this process documentation. And when they came back, a team was created here. They got this training, for this accounting system and their workflow system. And they started processing this US company's accounts payable here. Apart from the third-party vendors, another angle also was employee expense reimbursement. So again, there was a software for processing these expense claims. And again, the transition was straightforward. They had to go and see the policies which the company had in terms of mileage reimbursement and various other entitlements. And then employees put in their claims into that portal. The managers approved it. And sitting here in India, this team did that checking, whether it is meeting that particular criteria. And they did the accounting of these reimbursements. And finally, they could generate those payment files, which went to the customer's bank. So this process grew. It is now being handled by almost 12 to 13 people. It is one of the very stable and I would say well-known, you can say, reference for this service provider. So as you can see, as an outsourced service provider, doing this work for the US company, it's quite straightforward, and it's quite possible for a small and medium firm to do this. I'm not talking of large migrations where you need 400 people to take over something. There are TCS and Infosys who are there, so I'm not really addressing that market here. But there are mid-sized US companies, they could be 500 million or less, So they have maybe 6 people AP team or 10 people AP team, and they are very much interested in getting those outsourced and getting them executed. And of course, the larger companies also address that market, but I find that for small and medium practitioners like us, it's easier to address this particular market and become an outsourced service provider, rather than saying that I'll do 100 people transition or 400 people transition. That we are not really addressing that market. So that is an outsourced service provider. The second model is a captive in-house customers, captive service provider. Now, this is a slightly different model where I have seen this evolve. So in Pune, Mumbai, there are several IT companies. So US companies or Canadian companies have outsourced their engineering work, software development, software support. So this is also a good, I would say, opportunity. So if you're a chartered accountant or a finance manager, and if you're working in one such company where they're already outsourcing their software development and related work, then you can become like an in-house entrepreneur. And so this is slightly different than what is mentioned in the first case. So if you're already employed in that company, or if you're a service provider to that company, then you can build a good relationship with their controllers team in USA or Canada. And then you can showcase them that while they have this whatever 30, 50, 100 people team in India doing software development, they can also look at maybe having a 10, 15 people team who will take care of this accounting, expense reimbursement, taxes, and other work. So sometimes they have not really thought through in this particular manner. And if you get a good case, across to their controllers or CFOs in US, their interest can grow. And sometimes they're reluctant to outsource it. So as a service provider, they might not want to share their accounting and other information with a third-party customer, third-party supplier. But they are okay. They're already their core work of software and business is getting outsourced. So they don't mind these additional support services like accounting or HR or recruitment, sometimes even procurement, that being done as a in-house capability within their, you can say, entity within India. So I have seen again a case study where there was this company which was doing healthcare related IT services work. It was almost 600, 700 people company at that time. Incidentally, they also had a center in Vadodara. Again, I'll not tell the name here in the common forum, but both of them, the locations were there, Pune and Vadodara. So the finance manager of this particular company, he's a good friend. So he did this, what I just now mentioned. He pitched that, okay, now you have 700 people doing your core work in India. So why not look at accounting and related activities from here? So it got accepted. It started with some financial planning and analysis work, budgeting and variance analysis, etc. Then he took over the core accounts payable and related activities. Then he also started billing and collection follow-up related activities. So over a period of 2 to 3 years, they built a team of almost 75 people as a global shared services team. So again, not every company can grow to 75 people in-house team. But I have seen this work where just 2 months ago, something similar happened, for one of our customers. It happened on a smaller scale, but we were providing accounting services to Indian subsidiary of a foreign company. And they were happy with what we are doing here. So when this dialogue started, and when we said, okay, now you have engineering team here, why not look at some activity being outsourced? So they started with some accounts payable, and one activity they had was slightly different. It was for Salesforce data automation. So it was not purely accounting. But again, the same discussion happened, and they wanted to do it in their entity. So we were able to identify people, place them there, and we are helping them start and grow this. So both these models can work. If you're already working in a MNC who's already doing work in India, so that initial resistance of doing work from India, that is no more there. You have to just showcase the capabilities that yes, it's not just software development, but also these other activities, and it can grow. So in Pune itself, I can just, in my acquaintance, I can count at least 10 or 15 such cases where MNC India subsidiaries have opened up, to look at F&A as a core activity. So this can be a good career opportunity if you're a, working chartered accountant in the industry, or as a service provider, you can help them, get this built into their captive service provider. So these two are, so in a way complementary, but also to a certain extent different, because the scale of this captive can really grow very large. If it's a large company, they might want 100 people. So again, how relevant that will be to a small and medium practice might be a bit of a doubt, but at least you can start that. And that brings us to the third model, which is build, operate, transfer. So the second model, which I mentioned, that companies want to do it in-house. They have seen that they can outsource maybe a 500 people engineering team doing software development work for them, and they know that because it's an India entity of their own company, they can extend their own network. Their IP gets protected. They can give virtual machines, which limit the access to the information, and it doesn't go to a third-party service provider. So many of them want to do this as a captive. So I would say that both outsourced and captive, I would say, go hand in hand. So it's not that, it depends really on the preference of that company and their past experiences. So this third model is really a support for the second one. So you as a SMP service provider or an expert in this process execution, you can say that, okay, now you want to build this maybe 15 people team or a 20 people team. Of course, you have an engineering head in India and he's taking care of this 500 people team. He can, of course, spend his time and put his recruitment team to work and build this. But then it's a different domain. So he or she has to spend that much time and his bandwidth gets consumed, which might be better, applied in their core business, which can get them more mileage. So you can say that, okay, I will build this team for you. Let us do this transition. Let's start with whatever accounts payable or reimbursements or any such process, and then start with the team which could be housed in your firm. Again, where they operate physically is not really relevant. After COVID, people have really become quite flexible. They say, okay, they can work from your office, so they can work from home, or they might want them to come to their center and do. So you can have a transition plan. Maybe you'll say that, okay, I'll build this team over a period of a year. I'll train them, do these SOPs, do these quality manuals. And maybe after a year and a half, this company can take them over. So even recruiting people sometimes become easier if it's a brand which is better recognized than your SMP firm. Then you can have a proper exit agreement to ensure that you get properly rewarded for this entire service that you're providing. So this third BOT model can really feed into this captive service provider. In some cases, again, these are flexible. As I said, it's not that they are watertight models. I have seen that in some cases the BOT has worked beautifully, and this transition, the customer is saying, okay, if you want to continue, just continue. So I have seen even one such model last 4, 5, 6 years it is running. So long as it works for both the supplier and the customer, it can continue. So now we'll touch upon those 4, 5 components of this outsourcing journey. As I mentioned earlier, we are not really talking of individual consultants bidding for some work. So we are really talking of a team which will provide this service to your overseas customer. So team building is the key part. You have to really have a proper pyramid of organization. you need to have good team leads, and then you have to identify the skill sets which need to be delivered, which are required for ensuring that delivery does take place properly. Currently, all of us are aware there's a talent shortage and talent war, and you will also we have experienced this many times. We feel like we are a training ground for this larger organizations, so they get ready-made resources, but that's how life is, so we can't complain about it. So recruitment of the right type of people, training, then their knowledge upgradation, these are very crucial. Retention, so with all these challenges and enticements and calls coming, how do you retain people? So again, there is no one specific formula. Many of you are practicing chartered accountants. I'm sure you have people with you who have stayed for years. So if you can just say, what has made these people stay with me, and replicate that to give them more opportunities for growth. When you're doing work for overseas customers, there are different types of work that are possible. Many times, of course, in COVID, everything got disturbed, but earlier we could provide them some travel opportunities, go there, do some transition, then they can also go around the nearby places. So it's not just salary, because that is endless. Everybody will find some employer who will give him, some percentage more. So while of course you have to pay the appropriate salary, you also need to have certain other enablers to ensure that people stay and perform. In providing services to US and Canadian customers, there are a couple of places where it can be a, I would say, slightly inconvenience for the people here. One of them is the working hours and then shifts. So you have to really identify what type of work you are doing. So accounting work, luckily, most of the time can be done offline. We are not like a customer support or a call center where you have to be in those time zones to really do that work. So if this can be explained to the customer that, okay, now, and again, as Mr. Praveen said, there are multiple time zones in US, so if you're working for a Eastern US, at least the time gap is less. But if you're working for Western US, time gap can be more, almost 12, 13 hours. So you have to really discuss with the customer, ensure that the work gets addressed properly without getting into some kind of a ego-based discussion. No, I want people in US hours. Then they have to do midnight India. So if you are able to work out an arrangement where there is some overlap, either early morning India time or late evening India time, maybe 1 or 2 hours, I have generally seen that work gets done quite smoothly. So I have seen larger teams also where I mentioned about that captive F&A shared services which this person built, 70-80 people, but they all work India day shifts with a slight delay. So instead of working 10 to 6, maybe they'll work 12 to 8, but they don't do night shifts and such things. Once in a while there might be some call, but not really. My personal preference is that people generally should work in India daytime, because working midnights and all this night shift, personally I don't like, and I won't want my people to do that. Of course, these are personal preferences. If you have to run a 24/7 industry, you might need to do that. But my experience is most of the work can be done in India daytime. So I think you should be aware and create this awareness in the customer, so that right from the beginning the expectations are set properly. Customer doesn't expect that when it is 4 p.m. there, somebody will be working in India, because that might be early morning or midnight here. So once those expectation settings happen and communication takes place, I have seen generally people working quite productively in India daytime, which maybe either start early morning or slightly late evening, but not this midnights and 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. or such things. So I think in the long run they are not really workable. After COVID, things have changed dramatically. Working from home, which was earlier not very much encouraged. People said, okay, I want people in my office and they will have this CCTV cameras and all that. In 2 years, the whole mindset has changed. People have built better systems. They are giving access only to the specific requirement, and they are generally able to manage work from home. So this gives some flexibility, and this shifts can also be to some extent be flexible there. But it's very important to really discuss this with the customer and set the expectations so that your team also continues to perform well. I have seen that there's a back office versus front office kind of a mindset. So when you are working as a accounts or a finance person in a larger company, even if you are handling a very large portfolio, generally you are providing a support function. You are not directly interacting with the customers. Whereas when you are working in a offshore center, working from the customer, your people, although they are from the same domain, accounting and finance, they are now actually the delivery people. So that makes a big difference. So while recruiting people, you have to really see whether the person is having a mindset of a staff role where he will say, okay, I'll do my work, I'll go home, and I'm not really worried about customers, to somebody who is more interacting with the customers and ensuring that things get done and really focus on delivery. So one should not really, so some people I have seen that they were excellent in-house finance people, but in a back office kind of environment where we are working for customers, they could not really work very well. Again, some people can adapt and evolve. So this is again not a black and white scenario, but you should be aware that there is this more interaction with the customer. Next part is infrastructure. Again, pre-COVID and post-COVID, things have changed dramatically, but there are some basics which have to be taken care. So typically, we find that having dual monitors or large screen where people can put multiple windows, that really makes the work very easy. Internet lease lines or high-speed broadband. Now in most cities and towns in India, you have this available, but you have to ensure that there is a power available also. So sometimes internet is there, but power is not there. So laptop runs out of power. So sometimes you have to look at the specific scenario in that city and then look at what needs to be provided. Cloud software. So there are softwares. Most US businesses have an entry-level software like QuickBooks or NetSuite. Larger companies have, NetSuite, Intact, SAP is there in many customers. Then there are Microsoft softwares like Exapta or Dynamics. So you have to really study what the accounting system the customer has, and most of them have now become cloud-based. So you don't need too much of a server infrastructure in your office, so long as you have provided high-capacity laptops with dual monitor. That also gives you flexibility. So prior to COVID, obviously everybody thought in terms of desktops and 2 monitors and UPS and all of that. COVID suddenly made a big mindset change. So now most people have a laptop, so they can take it home, if there are lockdowns or other restrictions, and an additional monitor. Some employees may not have adequate office-like furniture at home, so you have to really address that part. Do they have a proper table, proper chair? Can 2 monitors fit on that particular chair? What is the power situation? So these are practical aspects one has to take care. But after COVID, we have seen, people are more open for work from home kind of a scenario. I don't know, again, now things are opening up, people are coming back to office. So 1 year down the road, what the thinking will be, I don't know really today. But at least today I have seen a lot of flexibility. Then there are workflow management softwares. So you can start with email, but very soon you'll realize that email is not really the right tool. Because same input might come multiple times. Then if you have put a team to work on a particular task, like accounts payable or reimbursement, then who's doing what work, what is the progress, then there could be some SLAs, service level agreement, turnaround times. So if you have to keep tracking all of this manually, that cannot scale. So you need to have some workflow software. Customers many times have a software, or You can also use some cloud-based tools, like Zodesk or Freshdesk, or again, there are several such tools. Many document management systems also have workflow management. So again, you have to really see what is the requirement of the customer, then who's going to invest in these tools, and are you getting properly rewarded for that, and ensure that don't rely on the email purely, because you can start with that but not really continue for a long time. Have such cloud workflow management tools and communication tools. So like Zoom or Google Meet, there can be Slack. So the less email you use, the more predictable your delivery becomes. So email is really open, it's quite free form. So you can write anything in email. But if you have proper software with proper ticket management, escalation, proper buttons for workflow, it becomes more predictable. And if something is not taking place properly, you are able to really take care of that instantly. Data security. So your customer, will obviously have an expectation that his data remains intact, doesn't get compromised. The best way to have data security is not to have any data in your system. So it's like, you don't keep your jewelry at home, you keep it in the bank safe. So you don't have any worry about, jewelry getting stolen from your home. In the same way, if you don't get customers' data on your systems or your laptop or your server, to that extent, there is no risk of losing that data. So nowadays there are virtual machines. So many customers, on Amazon Cloud or Azure, Microsoft Cloud, or many such Google Cloud, they are able to create virtual machines. So although you are working from your laptop, once you log into that particular virtual machine software, effectively you are working on a computer, which is a separate computer. So you cannot copy files from that computer onto your laptop, or you cannot take a screenshot. So there are such restrictions. So that is the most ideal. So data remains in that customer's virtual machines or the cloud. So the moment somebody signs off, they have zero access to the customer's data. So then there's no question of losing, or so customer is responsible for that security. This is the most ideal. At all customers, you may not have this kind of a scenario. You might actually download those PDF files onto your server. Based on that, you might do entry into the customer's ERP system. So in such case, you need to have very well-defined data security aspects. There are many consultants who will advise you on how to do that, how to set up firewall, what access control to give to which person, how that two-factor authentication should happen. So again, this webinar is not for IT security, but so long as you are aware that the data is there, and again, if you minimize the retention, that okay, I have downloaded, that entry is done, and I'm deleting it. So the less data you keep with you, the lesser headaches you will have. But it's inevitable that some data will come. So have this proper workflow. Ensure that people only have access to what they need to have, and not really mix up with customer data and their data. There are privacy laws. So again, it's a separate topic by itself. So you should be aware of that. Have a proper documentation for taking care of this. So what are the services that can be provided? Again, Praveen had given a very elaborate list. I'll just quickly touch upon few of them. So tax preparation and filing. Again, this is a very common, very pervasive activity. Then the core finance and accounting activity: procure to pay, order to cash, financial planning and analysis, consolidation reporting, payroll processing, and compliance tracking, federal, state, and local. So I'll quickly touch upon each of them. Just so here you will realize that after listening to this webinar, that this looks simple, and we can also do it, and that is the whole point of this particular presentation, that any SMP in India can do this activity. So tax return preparation and filing. So basically, again, there's a case study of a small SME firm in Pune. This example is also slightly older, it's more than 10 years old, and they have now grown to become a fairly large firm. But when they started, basically, they had a connect with one of the California-based CPA firm, and they were able to start off with tax return preparation. Praveen has shown you the volume there. So again, it's a seasonal activity. Luckily, those seasons are different than the India tax seasons. So of course, last 2 years everything got messed up with all these extensions. But generally, you're able to deploy similar people, with some minor overlap. But generally, most of their work pressure comes in April and maybe a month or month and a half prior to that, and some part in October. So it doesn't clash too much with our tax audit and this transfer pricing and other activities. So with similar resource pool, you can take care of this. So I have seen this particular firm. So they started. Again, there are several tax preparation softwares. The company which runs QuickBooks, so that is one of the most basic tax software that most companies use, Intuit. So they got this training. Again, they had a workflow where the tax data would come. Initial training would be given, and then they're able to prepare these tax returns. The CPA firm would then do the final quality check, and then they would file it. So this is very much possible. The second part, again, where I have seen many companies focus on that, is the accounts payable outsourcing. So this is a case study which I described earlier. So taking care of the vendor purchase orders, then two-way and three-way matching, PO, GRN, etc., and tax compliance. So tax compliance is quite straightforward in AP processes. So if you can, if you are able to handle Indian customers' accounts payable with all these GST, RCM, TDS, TCS, and such complexities, your people will find that handling a US or a Canada accounts payable is at least I would say 50 to 60% simpler, because you just have to focus on the PO and the payment terms, not worry on this other aspects too much. Of course, there are certain compliances. I'm not trying to say that it's very trivial, but it's quite straightforward and simple, and people can easily learn this in about a week or two. And softwares are also quite intuitive. O2C is basically the customer-facing process. So you can look at customer order entry, generating estimates, or what we call pro forma invoices, generating the tax invoice. Then slightly advanced version of this would be the revenue recognition. Now, many of these startups are in subscription model. Over last 4-5 years, it has evolved. So instead of pure software license sale, now you will get a subscription. So there will be certain revenue recognition aspects there. Some dunning. Again, as accounting firms, we are not really voice-based call center experts. So that's a different industry altogether. So some email-based follow-up escalation, we can take up, and that can happen. Then the bank reconciliation, again, very straightforward. Doing compliance from India is a bit, I would say, not too much of something which is advisable, because you should have a local US tax expert, because these laws also keep changing. And but what you can very easily do, which I have seen, and even our team, we do that, is that we can compile these various information sources and make it ready. And then the final QA can be done by the local tax advisor and file it. I wouldn't venture in actually taking over the compliance work, because then you need expert CPA here, and that cost advantage may not work out. But tracking of that, okay, what are the federal returns, what are the state returns, local returns, and ensuring that that gets done can be a good service which can be lucrative. Financial reporting and consolidation. So this can be a slightly advanced level. So apart from the basic transaction processing, you can say that we can do this month close, accruals, revenue recognition, their financial reports, consolidation. After IFRS and Ind AS, most of us are except for certain differences between them, US GAAP and IFRS are almost similar. Some terminologies are different. So if you have some good team, good CA with 3, 4, 5 years experience who has done some work in Indes, they can very easily adapt this US GAAP reporting. The formats are also more or less similar. So that can be a better service in terms of the revenue recognition, revenue realization. FP&A, financial planning analysis, budget making, variance analysis, some plotting of certain charts and trends. So this can be a good entry point. This captive service provider, which I mentioned, that 75-80 people team, they have got almost 20 chartered accountants doing this work for their US company. Payroll, again, there are large payroll service providers in USA. So doing payroll processing in India for them may not really work out. But what we can do is really be a pre-payroll compilation kind of a provider where the data is aggregated, sorted, properly tracked, and then it is uploaded into these portals. They could be Trinet or ADP or Paychex or whatever. So post that payroll service provider takes care of actual disbursement, paying taxes in all these various jurisdictions, local states. So doing all that from India, at least in initial stage, may not really be, you may not have that expertise. So the pre-payroll can very much happen, and then you can evolve and grow that further. So I have seen again a Pune-based payroll service provider. So he built a large team, doing payroll processing for India, and over last couple of years, he has also started accepting customers from USA. So he has built a team, which is approach that I mentioned, that first they will do this back office compilation, and eventually he has also started actual processing for the US payroll. Again, this is a small to medium firm in Pune. So if we can do it from here, I'm sure people from towns like Surat, Ahmedabad, they can obviously do that. Any transition from overseas to Indian center needs to be defined properly. So you need to study what the existing system is, how the transition will happen. After deployment into production, that is after starting that service, also it needs to be tracked properly. As chartered accountants, sometimes we do the work, but we sometimes neglect the presentation part. So you need to have proper SLAs, you should have those graphs, how that SLA is moving, how the turnaround time is moving, what are the improvements. So it is good to get this monthly kind of MIS report across to them, not their business performance, but the processes that you are executing, how they are getting delivered. That will make it very easy to retain and grow that customer. Communication is key. So the team lead or the resource person, the SPOC, they need to have proper communication. Praveen ji mentioned about trust and how people talk, and in India we are more hierarchy conscious. In US and other cultures is more flat. So information exchange is more straightforward. So you have to collaborate properly. One key aspect one should be aware is that when outsourcing happens, finally these are all human beings. So sometimes the person who's training your team is the person who's losing his job, because it is outsourced. So these are sensitive situations, and they need to be handled with a proper empathy, so that there is no adversarial approach. It should be collaborative. This is one of my last slides. So again, how to get this business. So I focus mostly on how to deliver. I've spoken of team, infrastructure, communication, and how that needs to be done. But how do you get this business? Praveen ji mentioned various avenues where you can start off. But as a small and medium practice, in Pune or Surat or Ajmer, how do I actually get my first customer? So there are several ways I have seen people work. None of them is a perfect method, but if you combine a couple of them, then you can start there. First is you can have a sales and marketing presence in the USA. So that is, of course, with a proper investment plan, like Praveenji said, you can buy a CPA practice or have a small office there and start off. Second is inside sales or digital marketing. So again, subject to our institute's rules, etc., you can have proper communication which reaches across to the potential customer, so that you're able to convince them of this availability of this service, and then do some digital marketing. Again, I'm not really I'm not a practicing chartered accountant. I've always been a non-practicing CA, so I'm not expert on this various guidelines, but I'm sure you can reach out to the expert that you have and see that properly it is addressed. Then networks and cross referrals. So this is the biggest potential source. So there are institutes chapters there, and there are networks. There are global professional networks who have this cross reference agreements. So you can start and reach out to them and see their potential. One of the sources that has worked especially for me is the parent companies of Indian subsidiaries. So, Gujarat has a lot of MNCs, to whom you already might be providing service. So instead of just taking care of their local subsidiaries, GST returns and payroll and audit, if you establish communication with their parents' finance organization, of course, through this India subsidiaries, so, then sometimes they may not be aware, or they may not have thought that, okay, this capability exists here. So that can be a good entry point for you, from your existing customers. Then US-based CPA firms, you can be a captive service provider. So this needs to be, there can be a collaboration for that. And create the awareness about your capabilities, and customer testimonials have been a good source of referrals for us. So that brings me to the end of this presentation. I would just give a couple of references. So there's this publication of our institute, which is quite elaborate. So it actually talks of accounting process outsourcing, an insight on major economies by a Committee for Development of International Trade. So it is there on the institute's website. You should download it. I'm not aware whether an update has come subsequently. I have not downloaded it, but this itself is a very useful publication. It gives a lot of information. There are cross-country collaborations, like Australia CPA and our institute, they have a collaboration. By giving one particular paper, you become Australian CPA. So you can position that and enter that market. So like that, they have given country by country examples. So this is a very useful publication. Then there are several books on outsourcing. The one which I like, it is slightly old, but it gives a very good, you can say, philosophical background of outsourcing. So the book is World is Flat, Brief History of 21st Century. So that book you can just read. I would also like to acknowledge the inputs I got from CA Rakesh Jain, Jaydeep Pakankar, and Mr. Dinesh Tejwani in making this presentation. So thank you very much. Over to Nikhilji.
Thank you so much, sir, for this session. I think the members are benefited at large. Like they will get some inputs to proceed in the field and how to start on with outsourcing practice. With this, sir, we have several questions from the members. I'll just take one by one along with the name. So kindly just the first question that has come is from Sir CM Rubank Wadiwala. Asked that, sir, can we provide tax preparation services to US clients? Being Indian CAs, and shall we need to study the whole CA USA tax, and how we can just proceed with that?
Yeah, certainly. When you do any work, you have to have some knowledge of that. So its practical experience is always the key of success. So when you start preparing the tax return, you will first study something, and accordingly that particular type of return which you are planning to prepare, and then when you do prepare the return, then you will get more experience, and then you can go. IRS.gov is the best place to learn. Very straightforward publication are there, and you can read, understand very easily. I have not seen any difficulty with any CA in interpreting those publication.
Okay, thank you, sir. The second question that we have is from CS Sanjay Nathani. Sanjay ji has asked, sir, is there any specific knowledge is required for bookkeeping work, like of a kind of some course or something like that we have to do that would help us to service the clients in a better way? Like, is there any other thing like he's asking?
It's the same thing like how you are doing the accounting bookkeeping work for Indian client is the same thing. So if the software is different, then you need to understand that software. You can take that training, and as you work like your own practice in Indian client, it's the same thing. It's nothing changed. Only just is a remote place, and accounting concepts are the same. Only if you do for listed companies or some kind of IFRS or other requirement there, then it might be changes there because there is a gap accounting system is more there. So you have to learn the gap principle.
But for most of the transaction processing related activities that at least initially you will start doing, I think it's more or less similar. In India also now we have these US softwares which are available like QuickBooks and Xero, etc. So most people are now familiar. So some terminologies are different, but I don't think you have to really do any major course for that. These softwares also have their own marketing. So they will say pro expert or some such thing. With some simple online test, you can. So your people also get motivated that okay, now I have become a pro advisor. So encourage them to really go through those and get them self-tested and qualify. That helps. It doesn't directly impact the, I would say, capability. So that is really the team lead and the transition manager. They have to really do the SOPs properly, and that confidence has to come. But it's not a prerequisite that you must learn X, Y, Z software to get that work. That is not really required.
And we should be proud that Joho, Indian owned company, is spreading like in India as well as in US accounting world. And there are two types of major focus one should do, like small enterprise support, or the way Anant is doing the large accounting like enterprise in US. So when you do the large accounting support, then you need a 5-10 people team to support that US based enterprise. But when you are doing for individual, it's like 1 day work or 2 day work is enough in a month. Here is not a continuous process you require. So it depends how focused you want to do and which type of practice you want.
Okay. So for the basic accounting practice and all this practice, mostly the accounting software which are used, as far as I know, is around QuickBooks, and in Australia it is Xero is used. So is Zoho is also used, or how is it? Like all these two softwares are there?
Zoho is spreading like crazy in India, US and Japan.
Okay.
They are a big team.
Okay.
They are developing their develop whatever the US requirement is, particularly in sale tax and payroll.
Okay. Yes, sir. The third question is also related to that only, sir. I think you have discussed it. It is by CA Vishal Jariwala. Like, what is the skill set to be updated to start this work, and from where we can educate ourselves regarding that?
Yeah, just it's the same thing like how you get work from your Indian client, and just do the practice, start presentation, make some your key important thing you learn from say QBO or Joho. Just put in your website or in your LinkedIn and market to the US CPAs or something. You know?
Yes, sir. And there is another question from our Vice Chairman, Sir C. Arun Narang, that, sir, can you just name, there are a few websites from where we can just get updated regarding the US tax laws?
IRS.gov is the best one. There is no need to
IRS, the laws flows through them only, so that would be the best source, right?
They have spent billions of dollars to publish all those publication, and it's very easy to understand. And I know it's like sometimes 10 page but FAQ is there, but that's the best source. We never spend any time in any other place.
Okay. Another question is from CS Samkit Mipani. He is asking that are there any good institutes offering US CPAs in India, or the institute which is offering CPAs? I think they might not be knowing. So, sir, can you just shed light? Anand sir,
It's
Praveen
a
sir.
very famous now. Simandar is there. Varun Jain has his own from Bangalore or Hyderabad. So, and E.G. Gupta has. They are actually giving the courses of the Baker, but they are the dealer. So Baker
Okay.
is good for CAs, but it's little bit costly. But there are 4 Wiley books that is sufficient. If you don't want to spend money on that, there is a 4-part Wiley books are there. If you do that, I have seen many CAs has passed those CPA courses and got around 85 or 90 numbers without any problem.
Okay. And Simandar is providing that in their curriculum as well. Like if the fees they are just charging, I think they are providing the books as well.
Yeah, they are a very good marketing, and it's a cycle. It's a
Yes, sir.
cycle. They are getting success, and they are good marketing too.
After
I don't want to
qualifying as a
market.
CA in India, this CPA exam, you will find that it's very simple. And
Yes, sir.
self-study also works many times. Only you can go through institute just for the process, and so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. But I don't think that's a very major.
It's a save of time. What you invest, money.
Big
Basically.
time for the discipline as well, because most of them are just working professional. Somebody might be in the practice, somebody might be in the job, so they get certain deadlines as well. And I think other organization also helps out with the post qualification as well. Like after CPA, you have to do some kind of work and everything. They'll help with onboarding process of that as well, I believe.
Right. Any education is good for anyone. That's the first rule. But as a personally or as a whosoever has done CA or CPA, they knows that if you are a CA, then if you did CPA, it doesn't matter because that's a very easy for you. So, but many other people who doesn't have a CA degree or they don't know about the CA, particularly in US environment, then it's there. CPA certification is there, then it gives the confidence to them, like, oh, they have already passed this CPA. Because in US is like as a CA is a tough, like consider CPA is also one of the toughest certification.
Yes, sir. Another question is from CM Mehul Kumar Joshi. He's asking, like, sir, how to get connected to a CPA firm situated in US or Australia or any other place? And is there any other platform to get connected with? Just like forums like LinkedIn and other you have mentioned. I believe he wanted to ask a specific platforms like that. In case some forum is there.
I don't think all platform is working nice. It depends on your luck and how you connect and how you present and how the other person is a good time, then you connected that. So it depends. And how much money you are, if you are interested in investing money, then it's a different game.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Another question is from CA Kanchan. She wanted to ask, like, how to source the clients and what are the price bands that we can keep. So I'll just connect it with another question. I think the price band question is another as well. They wanted to ask, like, sir, for the different services like bookkeeping, tax preparation, payroll, how you just set up the charges, like appropriated charges. Like, how do you set up the price band for the clients?
It's the same thing, like how we are decide in Indian client when we give the proposal. It's the same thing. You have to understand your cost plus your margin. I just request to everyone that they should not see the other CPA firms how much they are making. That creates sometimes in the mind disturbing. Oh my God, they are making $100,000 in this assignment, and they have given $100 to add 10%. But there is a cost, there is a marketing, there is a patience. It's too much that you cannot even compare that. So that should not, that you should concentrate in your cost plus whatever your wish is in the margin, and focus and deliver best services, quality services in the time, within the time period, and then you will grow, and then money will fall in your place. Money will come automatically. It's not
Talking
just
of the
you need a
rates,
patience.
talking of the rates, this
Yes,
question
sir.
always comes up because sometimes your customers might ask you for a per hour quote or something. So you have to really see whether
Yes,
you
sir.
want to get into that per hour kind of a model, because it can lead to a lot of disputes and I would say heartburns. That suppose you bill for 100 hours, customer will say, okay, no, why 100? Why not 70? So our experience has been that if you're able to position not as a pure cost saving, but also as a value addition, and if the customer appreciates that, for example, a typical very junior accountant in USA might cost easily $40,000-$50,000 to them. A senior or a mid-level accountant will cost them $70,000-$80,000. So something similar in India might happen in a much lower cost. So you might be able to offer a basic accounting work at maybe $1,500 or $2,000 a month, which in India can be a significant rate, but for US then there's a significant saving. So if you're able to position it that way, and so I'm not against per hour rates, but per hour requires a very different way of working, tracking time, ensuring that the billed hours are really fully defensible, and at least I have not seen our people really be that much of time conscious, etc. So if you have a resource-based rate where the work, and again, work is also diverse. So two journal entries may not be similar. If one of them is a capitalization, it might require 3 days of work. Another might be a simple prepaid expense entry, which might happen in 3 minutes. So I would say that hourly rate is something which can be like a guideline, but it's very difficult to run it in a longer kind of a relationship. So you can take that as a reference, but really put this value proposition to the customer that, okay, you're going to save whatever 40, 50, 60% of your cost for similar or a better value. So don't worry too much about the rate, but look at the total billing. That can really, and also it gives you a peace of mind. Your people can become interchangeable. It doesn't depend on an individual.
Here,
So position
here
it in that way, which gives you a good return and also gives the customer a good cost saving and value generation.
Yeah, here I would like to add one another thing is that when a person works in the US, he never even answer a phone. And it's so bad in India that I'm talking to you personally, and then call comes and he picked the phone. This is a crime in US. Like he will not entertain next time to you. That is the situation. So that seriousness you should do. If you are working, you are in the office, forget any call. And in India is very common. Our parents are very common. We are in the office. Our parents will call. You have to educate them like, hey, I am in the job. Please don't call other than the emergency. Emergency is fine. So we have to tell in US that like second time or third time I'll pick the phone. First time if I pick, then I'm available. I'm just, but the second time or if you call third time, then I'll certainly pick whether I'm busy or anywhere. So that concept is required. That is not there at all in a 1% or 2% level of the US. That's why the dispute comes. Like the 2 hours means in US is a 2 hours. Here 2 hours means we don't know 4 hours. He just spend time in many other things.
Yes. And I've seen like many of my friends are working in other institutes, like organizations where BPO work is done. Many times the employees, like as just told us, the mentality is like that. So many times the employees itself just seem like, yeah, our work culture is very stringent. They ask us to keep our phone away. They ask us to work like robots, like 8 hours a day. But I think, as you just mentioned, some kind of professionalism is necessary as well. So in case 2 or 3 times if a call comes, like that might be an emergency. Apart from that, if it is not there, you can just connect any times after, like there is a break time. You get some kind of certain breaks.
Yeah,
so that some kind of
it's a habit. Like my wife never called to business time. Kids are not calling, so it's a habit, and we never expect. We are never calling. Here is just anything we need. My father need a like key or something, or not missing something which is not important.
Yeah.
Just call it because it's a habit. This is a culture in the society. If my father is called, I cannot pick that phone. So.
Because that affects your relationship with the US partner as well. In case you get connected, if your organization is not behaving in a certain way, No, certainly they'll get to know, like sooner or later, they'll get to know like how
Yeah,
your
they-
organization is working.
They will not entertain you because you are sitting with them and then you pick the phone. It's a very rude for them.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And another question is from Nilesh Wakharia. He's asking like, where shall we store the data? Whether at the client place or the backup, being SMPs, because many times, sir, we have seen like SMPs are working on the model that requires them to source the client for the first time through Upwork, freelance or something like. So they might not be having an organization. So there many times they have a thing like whether we should go some kind of a cloud computing architecture where we can save a data to Dropbox, Google Drives or something like that, or shall we have worked, as Anand sir has also mentioned, that we can have in data integrity process, sir has mentioned, we can go to there and we can just work through that remotely. And so please, sir, kindly shed some light.
So in
Not
this
having data is the best, because if you don't have it, then nobody can steal it and you don't get into any trouble.
right.
I think as far as possible, work through a remote login, virtual machine. So data always remains with the customer and your people can't download, they cannot take a screenshot. So I think that is the best. Everything after that has its own risks and rewards. So again, there are secure cloud storages. So work through them.
Yes,
See
sir.
what sharing you are doing. So I think it's good to have a good security person, so it's a good investment. There are many such agencies. So rather than trying to reinvent the wheel ourselves, I feel it's good to have your IT network service provider who can set this up so that you don't get caught in some surprise.
But now these days, all software is cloud based, so it's secured, or AWS or virtual machines are so available, and that is in the US, so it's not a big issue.
Yes, sir. And as far as like we have, like as far as I have also understood, if I tell you from my side, like particularly in US, as you have also mentioned, Anand sir has also mentioned, like the trust, confidentiality, and integrity part of the data is very much there. Because as we have also seen, if some kind of a data leak, even though for Facebook, Yahoo, or XYZ, if any organization is there, they'll be just questioned after that. And in India, that is not much there. Like client data is available everywhere if you just ask. The data security is not itself. You can hack into anybody's website, you can hack into anybody's servers, but in US they are very much particular about that. So if you get to that kind of what we say working model, as sir has also told, like if you go to virtual things or if you have a remote working, it might create trust as well, sir. Am I right?
Yeah, that's correct. But the biggest challenge in this is because it's a trust-based society, and once you breach, you are gone. And the the counterpart in US also is the big problem because somebody can sue them. Interesting fact is that even your spouse is not supposed to open your mail. That kind of separacy and confidentiality is there. Even they can take a divorce if he has opened or she has opened the envelope, and that's a valid reason. So you can see that importance of confidentiality, and data is really, and we have to tell the client that who is seen this document. In HIPAA, the medical record also is the requirement.
Yes.
Any patient can ask like, oh, who has seen my patient data? Same way now the IRS is also forcing that single person login and two-factor login. So the same document cannot be seen by any other, and whosoever is seen, they have to have the log of that. So slowly, all the software and processes are changing, and time to come, it will require to have follow those rules.
Yes, sir. And I just remember an instance my friend shared. He is also working in this field. He told that once they lost a very big US-based client. He was a real estate consultant, working over there. He was having around 100 to 200 properties. He was working on house hacking something. So what they did, like they shared, as Anand sir told, they shared through some kind of a remote a data sharing website or something like that. And inadvertently, some employee of his, like Indian employee, who was a BCom or accountant or even a CA, he just by inadvertently downloaded some kind of a data even a small file. He just like in on the spot, real time, he received a call from the CP. He told, "Did you download data?" As soon as he told, "Yes, we just downloaded. We wanted to look it. We were unable to check it." He just disconnected the call and never he heard from him. They just disconnected. It's just like firing on the spot. Like, we won't work with you now. You have just breached the level of trust that we require.
Yeah, it's a 0% tolerance. So that's the trust is required. No compromise in many
Yes.
many trust-based situation.
Yes, sir. Okay. There is another question from CA Tahir Bohari. He is asking, like, is it appropriate for practicing chartered accountant to fetch work from platforms like Fiverr, Upwork under CA Act?
Yeah, that I have seen people are doing. They are posting that, and
Yes.
those are practicing chartered accountants. So, but as far as the ethics is concerned, I think US Indian institute can
Yes.
address this issue. But they should also at least some provision institute also in ethics. They have to modify looking to the current situation, current environment, and they also trying to promote the outsourcing. So they should make certain things open. And like I see very ridiculous, like the provision of the name of the firm. It should be in your initial.
Yes.
So again why it is like in US, whatever name we choose, which is allowed by the state, and all people are certified public accountant members, partners are there. They just registered as a CPA firm. So my firm is name is Seva Limited, and that is a CPA firm. So we registered first domain, then we know how to get the domain also. It's so they should be changed. Like first you have to register the institute, then LLP, and then institute. It's mess.
Yes, sir. I think the council will look into that. As the upcoming years, they are also very much proactive.
That's correct. They are doing very great things as far as trying to get the market outsourcing work. So,
as this service is also getting very much attractive nowadays, sir, many young chartered accountants are also venturing out into that. And as you have also said, Anand sir has also said, Ahmedabad, Pune, they are becoming hub now. Every second person is getting into this practice. So it is a need of the hour, I believe.
Yeah, that's true.
There is another question from CA Angur Singhai. He is telling that, sir, though some portal I have approached 75 to 80 CPS for outsourcing work, as I've also worked in BPO for 4 years, but I didn't get any response. So can you just guide us how to approach and to whom to approach, like big CPS or small CPS firm?
Right. So the challenge is that you approach, and even I received at least 10 or 15 requests every day. So it's very difficult to judge who is right or who is wrong, or how to approach, how I can trust any email.
Yes.
That's the problem of the Indian society. And that's why I think the institute should work very diligently on this aspect. Like, we will give the guarantee to the outsource companies or US companies that my member, if will do that, we will take the punishment. We will remove this degree. That day, if it this happen, I don't think any problem is there. So
an assurance from a regulator.
Yeah, then and they should settle. The Indian court should settle in 10 days or 15 days or one month, and so the people will function based on the law. Right now, they know nothing can be happened. Why you should worry?
Yes.
So that killing
whom to approach
everyone.
Whom to approach and how is a very, even when we are developing our Indian practice. If you just send 1,000 mails, very likely we may not get a single response. Same thing works here. I think if you are able to find some connection, maybe your relative, or like I said, many chartered accountants ignore this Indian subsidiaries of foreign companies as a potential for getting overseas business. So they just look at, okay, I'm doing GST audit here and something, tax audit here and tax returns and something. But if you're able to leverage that, that can give you some connection. And once you have some connection, you can do other marketing initiatives, some inside
Referral will
sales.
come.
So that will come. So
The-
just sending out emails by itself, like may not really be the
To break the
productive.
ice, you may require a referral for the starter, I believe.
So I'm surprising, like he worked in the 4 years in the similar
BPO
situation.
consulting, yes.
So he should write some articles, something in the things, and then publish, or that he should send like, hey, this is my experience, and I want to get into this, because they are also looking to the people, good people here, trusted people here.
Already experience in the particular field. First, try to build your personal brand, I believe, through some, as Anand
To
sir
do
has
some
also
hard work. Yeah. It's just to sending in
Yes,
email, attach the profile, it doesn't make sense. And unfortunately, those emails and the profile has so many mistakes. If you really want to send something, then you should make sure that it's 100% correct and as per the US standard. If anyone that type of email comes, we always respond to that. Oh my God, he knows it. He's from India, but he knows what we are looking for. So then it works.
Yes, yes. And even though build some kind of personal brand, because in case you even receive us some mail from anybody, like you will even try to search it. Like if that person is not very visible, even on LinkedIn,
Yeah,
he
in the
doesn't.
LinkedIn, yeah. So then it is not trustable.
He is not sharing the particular knowledge on even on BP or something like that. He hasn't built any articles. So you will also assume like this is just a starter. Like he hasn't worked like that in that particular field. He doesn't know.
No, even surprising, like the chartered accountant, they never put the capital in C. There's so carelessness shows, and those
Yes.
small things, they just judge it, and then they just don't want to respond.
So
And I
think
have seen very successful entrepreneurs, particularly from Gujarat, because they have a connection. They have some cousin who is running the motels there, and
Yes.
he got that work. Then he's happy. Then he referred to other, and then
Good
suddenly.
testimonials, yes.
And I love Gujarati. I tell you, I'm a Marwadi, but I love Gujarati. They can give $100,000, $1 million, $3 million, and trust is 100% amongst them. Marwadi doesn't help to the Marwadi, but Gujarati helps amazing. That's why it's a synonymous. Like India means Gujarat.
Yes, yes.
Gujarati means Gujarat. So the way the trust is in the Gujarati, it's amazing.
Yes, sir. So with this, sir, we are done with the Q&A session. I think people would be benefited and their queries would have been solved. Now I would like to request our Vice Chairperson, C. Arun Narang, sir, to present a formal vote of thanks for today's our eminent speakers. Over to you, Arun Bhai.
Thank you, Manthan. On behalf of Surat branch of WRC of ICAI, I would like to thank both the speakers of the day, CPA Praveen sir and Anand Govande sir, for sharing their valuable time and knowledge with us on the topics given here. Thank you, CPA Praveen sir, for giving in-depth knowledge on US perspective on accounting outsourcing, also its benefits, making aware of the data, how it is growing day by day outsourcing practice. Also sharing us the how do we get the number of sites where we can get the work, procure work, and how we can retain the work, data security and data importance, importance of trust, data confidentiality, which is the most essential part, I think so, in every practice. Thank you so much, sir. And I would like to thank Anand Govande sir for sharing a knowledge bank on practical aspect of setting up a outsourcing practice. How small CA can do global outsourcing practice, engagement models, outsource service provider, captive service provider, team building, recruitment, training, knowledge parts, back office and front office mindset of the employees, and also infrastructure that is needed for the setting up practice. Also sharing knowledge on tax preparations and filing, software trainings, timings, due dates, etc. And thank you so much, sir, for sharing knowledge on P2P and O2C models and compliances that we can go with it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir, for taking up question and answer sessions so smoothly. And thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
All the participants will be sharing the PPTs of both the speakers to you from the mail IDs that you have registered. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Anand, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Superb session. Dushan bhai.
Yes, it was very nice, isn't it?